Rusty Pugh.
I have said since January 6th that I will do whatever it takes to ensure Donald Trump is never again anywhere near the Oval Office, and I mean it.
And challenger Harriet Hageman says that is exactly why Liz Cheney is out.
It doesn't surprise me that she would revert to those same old talking points, because that's really in large part what got her defeated.
Anti-Trump crusader Cheney was trounced by a margin of 40 points in Wyoming's congressional primary Tuesday. In her concession speech, Cheney hinted at her further political ambitions, saying, quote, "Now the real work begins." But Florida Congressman Michael Waltz says her real work was representing her district in Wyoming.
In this case, we are ultimately responsible to the people of our district, and the people of Wyoming decided she no longer represented their priorities.
President Biden taking a break from his beach vacation to sign his party's massive $739 billion Inflation Reduction Act into law yesterday at the White House. The Democrats are pushing for even more spending. As we learn, they have spent nearly $4 trillion on their agenda since Biden took office. Brian Brenberg is a professor of business and economics at King's College in New York. He says Biden and the Democrats don't care about reality.
Do you see that number, $3.8 trillion? That's extra. That's on top of what we normally spent. And that's just in the last year and a half. You talk about inflation. Why do you have an inflation problem? That's it. And we're still doing it. Look, the president talks about this being a win for the American people, not special interests. That's exactly backward. The American people are looking at this bill and saying, where's the relief for me now at the grocery store, at the pump? It's nowhere to be found. It's not an Inflation Reduction Act. It's the same thing the Biden administration was talking about on the campaign trail throughout. They don't care about reality.
A school district in Minneapolis has signed a contract with the teachers union that if it must lay off teachers, white ones will be the first to go and the last to be brought back. Steve Jordahl reports.
The contract between the Minneapolis Federation of Teachers and the Minneapolis Public Schools that goes into effect in the spring of 2023 stipulates that if they're laying off teachers, the district will get rid of the teachers with the least seniority who are not a member of an underrepresented population. Donna Jackson of Project 21 says it's the logical conclusion of woke educational policies and part of a greater plan for the so-called Great Reset.
That's the whole push of the CRT, that we were going to elevate the marginalized. We're going to tear down all of our systems and institutions so that they can tear down our Constitution. And not just our Constitution, but our way of life, and usher in socialism.
Attorney Brad Dacus of Pacific Justice Institute says the agreement is blatantly unconstitutional.
If the United States Supreme Court were to rule on this contract, I believe that they would find that it violates Title VII, and it also, for that matter, violates the 14th Amendment.
Title VII is part of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and prohibits discrimination on the basis of race. The 14th Amendment has the Equal Protection Clause, which says every American should be treated the same under the law. Dacus says everyone would recognize that the contract is unconstitutional if the race roles were reversed.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander, that if it's race-based discrimination, then it's not tolerable despite whatever race they're benefiting.
I'm Steve Jordahl.
The Virginia Department of Education wants to cancel George Washington and James Madison. The Virginia Department of Education wants to strike Washington's title of Father of our Country and Madison's dub Father of the Constitution from the state's standard of learning exams. Fox's Brian Kilmeade says people who hate our history should find another place to live.
But without these imperfect people, we wouldn't have this imperfect country. If you do not like the country, you can leave the country. This is our history.
More news online at afn.net. I'm Rusty Pugh.